Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. Early voting has begun here in the state of Texas. Means you can get out and vote. And joining us in studios, we continue to visit with candidates all week long here on the show. Candidate in the Republican primary for HD 88, Richard Beyea. In studio, joining us today on the program. Welcome to the show.
Well, we appreciate that. Since it's political season, can I take credit for the snow?
What snow? Yeah,
the front.
Yeah, the front. Well, I don't. Is that something you want to take credit for? A cold front blasting through?
Not particularly.
That's the fault of your opponents.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Tell folks a little bit about yourself. You're running, obviously, in the Republican primary for HD 88. Tell folks about yourself and why you decided it's time to run for HD 88.
Yeah, my name is Richard Beyea, and I'm running for the House District 88 rep. My wife Judy and I are from Perryton. It's a long district, but we own and operate a small oil and gas company there. I've served 2 terms on the school board in Perryton, served on the Chamber of Commerce board, and served on a variety of charity and other civic activities, served my church as a deacon and an elder. I'm currently a long-term Sunday school teacher, but I'm also a small independent businessman, and I understand the cost of an ever-growing government. And had one more town hall meeting with our current rep, and 3 or 4 things happened in there, and I realized that nothing was going to change. And so we jumped in there. We're kind of like everybody else. We get up and go to work in the mornings. We go to church on Sunday. We go to our school and our civic activities, and we start to lose track of what they're actually up to in Washington, and that's whole nother case. But Washington and Austin now also, I think they are intruding on our freedoms. I think they're intruding on our liberties. We start losing economic opportunities, and I'm tired of looking downstate and saying I'm just sick and tired of the special interests being catered to while Main Street pays the bills, and that's the motivating factor.
What issues? 3 or 4 issues specifically, and you said that there were about 3 or 4 things in that town hall that got you going, okay, I'm done sitting here, it's time to run. So what were those issues?
Well, there's been in the northern part of the district, there's been, and probably, as you go through District 88, you see kind of the same thing going on all over the place. Main Street is small town Texas. Main Street is struggling to maintain its vitality. You drive down Main Street in almost every one of our towns, and you see the same thing. So something there is eating our lunch for us, and that something is a big government. And what got me going out of this one particular town hall meetings, we have in the northern part of the district, we have a issue that has come up with what I would call crony capitalism. It is an issue where we've had some monopolies set up that are controlling access to gas markets. That particular thing was something that we asked about. Our current rep looked at me and said, the only people that won't cooperate here you guys are a bunch of whiners. And whether or not you believe that's probably not a good forum to set that up in. And then for the next good chunk of his presentation, he spent his time beating on Governor Abbott. And so I think those things we need to reestablish who we are and whose we are and connect to our people in the district. The word is representative, and it means represent. And they work for us, and I don't get that they understand this again. There's no point in trading Washington, D.C. for Washington on the Brazos if we're going to get the same kind of treatment. So those are probably the motivating factors.
Let's say you were elected, and you go down to Austin. What do you think? When the governor's come out with this property tax reform plan, obviously this was a big issue in the last legislative session. What do you think about a plan where you would have that cap on property taxes? He's brought up 2.5%. Probably would be a little bit higher than that after everybody got done negotiating. Should there be an automatic election for something like that?
Well, I think the bias when you're got a top-down style management, big government management outlook on things, I think the bias is toward we can fix this. But that is, if you look at it, most of our problems and a good amount of the problems when I was on the school board were from top down, not people with ideas that are going to come in and help us. I think Reagan said, I'm quoted, we're from the government and we're here to help you. And then you start covering your pocketbook. Well, I think the solution there is I understand the why they're wanting to put caps on local spending. But quite honestly, most of the cities I've talked to in District 88, they don't have 4% increases anyway. Whether it's so where do you set those? The big monkey in the room, the big ape in the room is or gorilla is the school finance system. Mm-hmm. And because of the school finance, we've got a lower and lower input to our local school systems. It's critical for most of the cities in District 88 because if we lose our small funding for our small schools, we lose our small schools, we lose our communities. It's a really different issues from downstate. So right. While I can appreciate what the downstate's trying to do to help us, I think if we don't fix the school finance issue, and quite honestly, I got off the school board 8 years ago. They haven't done anything with school finance. It's still the mess it was when I left. I think the part of the district that deals with a lot of the commodity-rich parts of the district, oil and gas, ag, whatever it is, we get into these sticker shock years where we have a big swing in valuations. Now, that's also happening down on the I-35 corridor because of all the population growth.
Right.
So how do you deal with that? I think go ahead,
So,
Jim.
well, on the issue of school finance, then, how do you separate yourself from your opponents? What's the difference for those who don't know?
Well, I think everybody's going to say pretty much the same thing. Everybody's kind of like everybody marketing themselves as conservative. The question is, who do you trust to run your local school system? We have got to figure out. When I was on the school board, this was one of my aims. My running slogan was education first, because we have to figure out how to get more money into the classroom. One of the things we struggled with when I was on the school board, and these are from pretty healthy budgets, but the question is, how do you get more than 60%? And even the 60% was a stretch. But how do you get 60% of your education allocated dollars into your classroom? So how do you fix it? We need to fix school finance. We need to get rid of the Robin Hood system. There's some of the gyrations some of these little towns are going through. So for the commodity-rich districts, I've suggested for a while what they need to go to is a tax-based averaging. Maybe take a 3-year rolling average. It would take the sticker shock price out of what my valuations are doing this year. Because in Perryton this year, we had a fall off in the oil and gas prices. And they turned around, even though we have 100 houses for sale in Perryton currently, they turned around and raised everybody's property taxes. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, since part of it's supposed to be a marketing value. Yeah. But the school finance thing draws everything. We're committed to it. We're constitutionally committed to it. How do you fix it? All
right. So school finance, one of your issues that you're running on. We only have a couple of minutes left, so name a couple of more issues that separate you from your opponents in this race that really that you want to take down to Austin and get fixed.
Well, I want responsiveness to the citizenry of the district. One of the things I see going on, which I think is a huge issue, Austin's turning into something that's not a whole lot dissimilar than Washington, D.C. We're not taking any special interest or PAC money. We think that's important. If you've got a current rep that's taking 85-90% of his money from outside the district and most of it from Austin, Mr. Limbaugh made that statement a few years ago: follow the money, you'll know who you work for. So I think accountability is a huge thing. I think you've got immigration issues that I think the federal government again has abdicated their role here. We have now been delegated all this stuff, and we're making these gyrations. We're reassigning DPS officers. We're doing all kinds of things. And all those costs, as usual, come from the state as mandates of some sort, or we're going to help you out, but they're unfunded. So we further put We further put burdens on the local county governments. That's hurting everybody, and that's where this cap argument is really coming up. Probably the other thing is Mr. King has been ranked by several sources as the third or fourth most liberal House member. I will guarantee you there will never be a moment where I'm third, fourth, or 17th most liberal House member. I know where I'm from. I'm conservative, and I know who I represent, and I'll vote that way.
Tell folks how they can find out more information about you. We know early voting has started, so how can folks find out more about you?
Well, make sure you spell the name right, but it's Beyea, that's the last name, fortexas.com. That's our website. We have a Facebook page up and running. We'd appreciate your support. Please call and talk to us. We'd be glad to talk to everybody.
Richard Beyea, candidate for HD 88. Appreciate your time today.
Chad, thank you.
Thanks for stopping by.